After 10 years of the apocalypse, I died from the double betrayal of my boyfriend and my best friend, and even my family's heirloom jade pendant was stolen. Reborn with hatred, I returned to half a month before the apocalypse descended. This time, while others are struggling to survive for a sip of water, I'm eating hot pot and drinking spiritual spring tea. The stray puppy I picked up on a whim turned out to be a majestic three-headed hellhound. The aloof, handsome man I accidentally saved turned out to be the future legendary Soldier King, who from then on became my protector, dedicated solely to guarding me. Opening my eyes again, I found myself back in my college dorm. The phone screen displayed the date, July 15th, 2044, half a month before the apocalypse. I have been reborn. I instinctively touched my chest. The cold jade pendant was still there. It had come back with me. Without a moment's hesitation, I headed straight for the university cafeteria. From a distance, I could already see Lin Xiaoxiao and Zhang Hao surrounded by a crowd. Lin Xiaoxiao was showing off her new bag, while Zhang Hao looked at her with doting eyes. When Lin Xiaoxiao saw me, a flicker of displeasure crossed her eyes. She swung the bag by her side and told me triumphantly,
"This was a gift from my new rich boyfriend."
I couldn't be bothered to play along with her, so I fixed my gaze on the bag. Did he not tell you that the 58,000 yuan spent on this bag was actually my money? I opened the transfer history on my mobile banking app and held it right in front of her. Lin Xiaoxiao's smile froze on her face. Zhang Hao stood up abruptly to shield Lin Xiaoxiao. I pulled my phone back. Since everyone is here, let's settle the score. From sophomore year until now, I've paid a total of $220,000 for your tuition and living expenses. Pay me back right now. Zhang Hao was furious.
But we're a couple.
Lin Xiaoxiao immediately started crying.
"We're best friends. I don't have the money to pay you back."
It doesn't matter if you don't have money. I locked my gaze on Zhang Hao first. I wrote your graduation thesis, and I have backups of all the drafts and chat logs. If you want to have your degree revoked, I can help you notify the school.
Don't you dare make false accusations.
I opened a folder on my phone named Zhang Hao's thesis and waved it in front of him. He shut up instantly, his face turning deathly pale. I then turned to Lin Xiaoxiao. "And you, forging poverty certificates to defraud financial aid. Do you want the school's disciplinary committee to investigate, or would you rather talk directly to the police about fraud?" She finally couldn't keep up the act, grabbed my arm, and started playing the emotional card.
"But we're best friends."
I shook her hand off. "Would best friends steal my boyfriend? I'll give you 10 minutes. I watched the time on my phone. If the money isn't in my account, we'll go talk to the principal's office." They started making frantic phone calls to scrape the money together. 10 minutes later, my phone received consecutive bank notifications of deposits, totaling 220,000, not a penny less. I put my phone away and turned to leave. Remember, I didn't even look back. This is just the principal. The money is in hand, but my revenge has only just begun. Next is the real preparation for the apocalypse. I walked to the edge of the school's artificial lake, gripped the jade pendant, and focused my mind. A clear image appeared directly in my head. It was an independent world, with hundreds of acres of fertile black soil, a massive, modern warehouse, and a spring emitting white mist. I could control everything inside with my thoughts. With a thought, a handful of spring water appeared out of thin air in front of me. I took a sip, and my fatigue was instantly swept away. I picked up a stone to cut my arm, then used my mind to draw out the spring water to wash it, and the wound healed instantly. I used my mind to move a pebble at my feet into the space, and it immediately appeared in the warehouse within the image in my mind. With another thought, the pebble returned to my hand. The space cannot hold living people, so I must build a real fortress. My parents passed away long ago, leaving me a trust fund of 5 million. I immediately contacted the fund manager, convinced him to release the funds early by using a forged acceptance letter from a top foreign university, and then used that 5 million as collateral to take out another 5 million loan from the bank. I recalled a tech stock from my past life that would skyrocket tomorrow, so I invested the entire 10 million I had scraped together. The next morning my account balance had turned into 100 million. I paid 20 million in full to buy a secluded detached villa by a forest lake in the suburbs, complete with a huge basement and high walls. This would be my home for the apocalypse. Then I headed straight to the city's largest wholesale agricultural market. I told the boss, 100 tons of rice, 50 tons of flour, and every variety of instant food you have in your warehouse. I want it all. I paid the full amount and requested that they deliver the goods to my villa. Once the workers left, I focused my mind, and the mountain of supplies instantly vanished, all entering my spatial warehouse. Using the same method, I swept through the meat processing plant, the wholesale pharmaceutical market, gas stations, and the building materials market. Tons of meat, enough medicine to last for years, hundreds of tons of gasoline and diesel, as well as vast quantities of steel plates, cement, and bulletproof glass were all collected into my space. In 3 days, I spent nearly 50 million, and my fortress was initially built. I directed the workers to reinforce the last wall with the steel plates I had purchased, and I personally tested the high-voltage electric fence and infrared alarm system around the perimeter of the villa. The supplies in my spatial warehouse, enough to last for years, were now fully stocked, and I even found time to take a trip to the pet market. I needed a sentry. In a cage in the corner, I bought a scrawny little black dog with an unusually fierce look in its eyes for 100 yuan. I named it Xiao Hei and fed it with spiritual spring water. In just one day, it became full of energy, and its size grew by a noticeable margin. My preparations were now nearing perfection. A serious car accident occurred. A large truck fully loaded with steel bars overturned, crushing a private car underneath it. I hadn't intended to meddle in other people's business, but as I was preparing to turn around, I saw the person trapped inside the private car. It was him, Lu Feng. He was the soldier emperor who defended an entire city, revered by all. He died in the 5th year of the apocalypse protecting civilians, the only high-level user who showed me kindness. Now, a steel bar pierced his shoulder, pinning him to the driver's seat. Should I save him or not? A healthy soldier emperor would be my powerful shield. I immediately exited the car and pushed through the crowd. At the window, I fed him spiritual spring water. After doing this, I immediately returned to my car, dialed the emergency number, and then quietly drove away. That night, I was in the basement of my villa, planning how to use the land within my spiritual spring space. Suddenly, the villa's doorbell rang. My address was top secret. I immediately turned on the surveillance monitor. On the screen, standing at the door, was a man wearing an oversized hospital gown, his face pale, but his posture upright. It was Lu Feng. How did he find this place? I clearly remembered that I hadn't left any clues when I saved him. The hospital is dozens of kilometers away from here. How did he find me so precisely in just a few short hours? I didn't open the door, but asked through the intercom, "Who are you looking for?" On the monitor, Lu Feng looked up, his gaze seemingly piercing through the camera, staring straight at me.
I don't know your name,
His voice was hoarse.
but I know it was you who saved me. A very special energy. It healed my wounds. I can feel that it comes from here.
I opened the door, and Lu Feng stood at the entrance, seeing me.
It's you.
He was certain. How did you find me? I asked directly. He didn't answer, but instead extended his right hand, and a snowflake materialized out of thin air in his palm, radiating cold.
It appeared after I woke up in the hospital. I could also sense your location more clearly.
So that's it. My spiritual spring water not only saved him, but also catalyzed his ability awakening ahead of time. He looked at me, his eyes filled with unreserved awe.
I owe you my life. From now on, my life is yours.
He knelt on one knee like a knight swearing an oath to his monarch. The soldier king of my past life has become my first follower in this life in such a way. I didn't help him up, I only said, "Come in." Just as Lu Feng stepped into the villa, the alarm outside the door went off. I checked the surveillance feed. Zhang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao were at the gate. They'd actually tracked me down. They were frantically ringing the bell, having arrived by taxi. It seems my recent house purchase and stockpiling left clues after all.
Su Qingyan, I know you're in there. Open the door.
Lin Xiaoxiao was crying.
Qingyan, we know we were wrong. It's so scary out here. Please let us in.
They had been frightened by the chaotic videos circulating online. Lu Feng looked at me waiting for orders. I pressed the intercom button. Get lost. Zhang Hao immediately started cursing, and Lin Xiaoxiao chimed in, accusing me of being selfish. Still the same old moral posturing. I couldn't be bothered to waste my breath, so I ordered Lu Feng, "Make them shut up." Lu Feng nodded and walked toward the door. The moment he opened the door, a blast of cold air erupted from him. Before the arrogance on Zhang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao's faces could even fade, their lips turned purple from the cold. They stared in terror at Lu Feng, wearing just a hospital gown.
Harass her. You die.
Lu Feng's voice was devoid of any emotion. They scrambled away in a panic. Let them run. Living will be far more painful for them than dying. I turned off the surveillance and took the freshest ingredients and beer out of my storage space. Time to eat and get ready to welcome the new world. We were eating hot pot when the villa lights popped out and all service cut off. Outside, the sky turned blood red and a pitter-patter sound began. The apocalypse arrived. Blood rain fell all night, and at dawn, the world went silent. By noon, zombies appeared on the street. The catastrophe had begun.
Most people didn't make it.
And those who remained were no longer human. We were calm. We had a fortress, supplies, and knowledge. For the next few days, we just observed from the villa. Nourished by the spiritual spring water, Xiao Hei had grown to a meter tall, resembling a fierce beast. On the 5th day, trouble arrived. A zombie started ramming its head against our metal gate, and soon, hundreds of zombies were attracted to it.
Should we clear them out?
Time to test the fence. I flipped the switch. Crackle. Blue arcs flashed, instantly charring the front zombies, while the rest dared not come any closer. Lu Feng and I toasted before the monitor. Suddenly, a new, faster zombie appeared. It rushed the electric fence, twitched briefly, then used sharp claws to tear right through it. An evolved zombie. Lu Feng tensed, ready to strike. Wait, I stopped him. A roar came from beneath our feet. It was Xiao Hei. It burst through the door and charged out like a black shadow. As it charged, its body transformed. Bones cracked. It swelled to 3 meters. One head split into 3, fangs bared, and lava-like liquid dripped from its maw. A 3-headed hellhound, a legend from my past life, was now tearing into an evolved zombie in my courtyard. Ultimately, at the cost of one blinded head, Xiao Hei's other 2 heads bit the zombie's head clean off. The battle ended. Xiao Hei dragged its massive body to my feet, rubbing against me. Looking at the courtyard mess, I realized the problem isn't the zombies, but that they're evolving faster than I anticipated. The appearance of the evolved zombie is a wake-up call. I cannot just stay inside the fortress. We assembled a high-power radio station. On the 7th day of the apocalypse, we received our first distress signal.
Trapped in the department store. There is food. Help.
The location is 15 kilometers away. That department store, it reminds me of something. In my past life, Lin Xiaoxiao's cousin, Lin Hui, a trash with super strength, made that store his first stronghold. He stole my food and nearly fed me to the zombies. I'm going there, not to save anyone, but to collect a debt. I grabbed 2 sets of black tactical gear and 2 military-grade knives from storage. Lu Feng spun the gleaming knife. I fed Xiao Hei spiritual spring water, and its injuries healed. It's my greatest trump card. I opened the garage where a modified military-grade armored vehicle was parked. I stepped on the gas, speeding out and crushing the swarming zombies like paper. I stopped at the department store's back door, where Lu Feng froze the nearby undead. As we prepared to sneak in, gunshots and cries for help erupted from the other side. We circled around to the front and hid behind a truck to observe. Near the mall, a group was forced toward a zombie horde. Leading them was a man with a fierce, fleshy face, Lin Hui.
Food is running low. Someone has to make a sacrifice, right?
He grinned wickedly as the pushed-out people were overwhelmed by zombies.
Lin Hui uses people as bait.
Lu Feng clenched his fists, radiating cold. I stopped him. Don't be hasty. This show has only just begun. Lin Hui prepared to return to the mall when an ice wall appeared out of thin air in front of them, blocking the entrance.
Who's there?
Lin Hui roared. Lu Feng and I stepped from behind the truck. Seeing me, his gaze turned greedy.
Yo, such a pretty girl in the apocalypse.
I ignored him and looked at a shivering man behind him. Manager Wang, I asked calmly, is my gold order ready? He stiffened, turning pale. As manager of the city's biggest jewelry store, he knew I'd anonymously ordered 30 million in gold before the apocalypse, due yesterday. Now the gold has been intercepted by Lin Hui. Lin Hui realized what was happening and turned to me viciously.
So you're that big client. If you know what's good for you, tell me all the supply locations you know.
The muscles in his unusually thick arm bulged, and he threw a punch at me. I stood still, but Lu Feng moved. An icy blue figure flashed by, and Lin Hui's fist froze in midair. His entire arm turned into an ice sculpture.
Ah!
A shrill scream pierced the air. Lu Feng walked toward Lin Hui, frost spreading beneath his feet, and the temperature of the surrounding air plummeted.
Monster!
Lin Hui screamed in terror. Lu Feng waved his hand, and dozens of ice spikes appeared out of thin air, piercing Lin Hui's limbs and pinning him firmly to the ground. I walked up to him. I was here to collect a debt. I picked up the handgun he had dropped and broke his legs. Then I looked at the group of terrified henchmen and the jewelry store manager. Bring out all the gold and supplies. They scrambled to move the food, water, and the box of gold bars out, then ran away without looking back. I collected all the supplies into my space, and finally, looking at Lin Hui, lying on the ground like a dead dog, and the horde of zombies drawn over by the scent of blood in the distance, I turned away coldly. Enjoy your dinner. As we were preparing to leave, a skinny teenager ran out from a building on the street corner.
Thank you, please, take me with you. I can do anything.
Lu Feng frowned, wanting to send him away. I stopped him and looked the teenager over. His eyes were bright, and his fingers were covered in calluses. What is your name? What can you do?
My name is Chen Ming. I used to be a hacker.
A hacker in the apocalypse. This is an extremely useful person. Information is always the primary resource. Get in the car, I said concisely. Chen Ming's face showed wild joy as he climbed into our off-road vehicle. Back at the fortress, looking at the magnificent villa, Chen Ming was stunned. I took him directly to the equipment room, pointed at the radio and servers, and said, "Prove your worth." Chen Ming immediately got to work. In 10 minutes, he expanded the signal search range tenfold, and then he began to hack into the city's traffic surveillance system.
Boss,
He pointed at the screen, his voice trembling. On the screen, the city's main roads were densely packed with zombies. They were moving in the same direction like an army. A torrent formed by hundreds of thousands, or even millions, of zombies. It's a zombie horde. The zombie horde that didn't appear until the second month in my past life has actually arrived so much earlier. Where are they headed? Chen Ming marked a red dot on the map.
the sports center in the east of the city. A large survivor base is being established there.
A base. I had Chen Ming try to hack into the base's network.
No, it's an encrypted firewall.
Chen Ming was drenched.
But I intercepted a draft of staffing plans for the supply department.
He projected the list onto the big screen. I saw two names at the very top of the list, Zhang Hao, head of Supply Group 1, and Lin Xiaoxiao, head of Supply Group 2. To think they managed to sneak into the base during the early days of the apocalypse and even landed such a cushy job managing supplies. That's just great.
Boss, the zombie horde is expected to arrive at the sports center in 3 days.
Chen Ming's voice pulled me back. Lu Feng looked at me.
What should we do? Leave this city?
Leave? I looked at the two names on the screen. No, we're going to the sports center. How could such a good show be missing an audience? We spent half a day making final modifications to the off-road vehicle, installing a retractable obstacle clearing plow on the front and a 360-degree rotating searchlight on the roof. Everything was ready. I set the villa to maximum alert automatic defense mode and then drove with them into the city shrouded in blood red. 3 days later, we arrived at the perimeter of the sports center, where a makeshift defensive line made of shipping containers and barbed wire had already been established. People in camouflage uniforms were patrolling the defensive line with tense expressions. As soon as our vehicle approached, it was targeted by over a dozen gun barrels. A person in uniform shouted through a loudspeaker, "Vehicle, kill your engine and exit for inspection." I rolled down the car window and looked at him. "We must enter the base. Personnel must surrender all supplies except food for uniform distribution." His tone was firm. This was standard apocalypse procedure. To avoid trouble, show them our entry permit. Lu Feng nodded and pushed the door open to get out of the car. He stood in front of the car and raised his right hand. In an instant, with him at the center, the ground within a 10-meter radius was covered in a thick layer of frost, and the water vapor in the air condensed into countless sharp ice crystals, hovering around him and radiating a deadly chill. The people opposite were all stunned. The guns in their hands looked like a joke in the face of such absolute power. The leader's expression changed drastically.
An Esper.
Through the car's intercom, he asked, "Can we go in now?" He immediately put away the loudspeaker. "Respected powerhouse, please enter. I will report this to the leadership immediately." I drove into the base gate. At the entrance, I saw Zhang Hao kicking a survivor's luggage, cursing and demanding they hand everything over. He saw my car, and he saw me. His expression shifted from arrogance to disbelief. I walked up to him. "Long time no see," I said indifferently.
You, how are you here?
I didn't answer him, just looked at the supply team leader badge pinned to his chest and smiled. "Are you enjoying this position?" Zhang Hao couldn't say a word. The surrounding survivors were all watching us, whispering to each other. I ignored him and headed straight to the base command center with Lu Feng and Chen Ming. The person in charge of the base was a leader named Li Guodong, in his 50s, with sharp eyes. He already knew about our strength from the report at the entrance.
Welcome, the three of you. The base needs strong people. What do you want?
An independent residence, the highest food and water electricity rations, and freedom of movement. I stated my conditions.
Agreed.
Li Guodong agreed very readily.
In exchange, I need you to step in when the base faces a crisis.
Deal. We were assigned to an independent 2-story house. I took out clean bedding, fresh vegetables, and steak from my storage space. That night, we grilled meat in the courtyard of the small house, and the aroma of the meat soon drifted out. In the building next door, a thin little girl couldn't help but poke her head out, smelling the aroma. Her mother pulled her back immediately. In the apocalypse, a barbecue meal is a luxury sufficient to invite fatal disaster. The next day, trouble came knocking. Zhang Hao brought a team of people to block our doorway. Lin Xiaoxiao was there too, arm in arm with Zhang Hao.
Su Qingyan, according to base regulations.
Zhang Hao held up a document.
All private vehicles must be surrendered for unified dispatch. We are requisitioning your car.
I looked at him. Requisitioning?
That's right.
Lin Xiaoxiao said in a shrill voice.
It's the apocalypse now. All resources should be shared. What right do you have to hog such a good car all by yourself?
I laughed. I took a coin out of my pocket and flicked it with my finger. The moment it hit the ground, a visible cold current erupted instantly, centered on where the coin landed. Crack! The ground beneath Zhang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao's feet froze instantly. The cold air rapidly crept up their ankles, and in the blink of an eye, their lower bodies were frozen into ice sculptures. The arrogance on their faces solidified into extreme terror. "My car, you think you're worthy of touching it?" I walked up to them and picked up the coin. Next time, it will be your heads that get frozen. Zhang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao remained frozen in place. I didn't look at them again and turned back into the house. Half an hour later, Li Guodong arrived. He took one look at the ice in the yard and the two nearly frozen people.
Miss Su, it's just a misunderstanding.
He had his men carry Zhang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao away. I don't like misunderstandings, I said.
I understand.
Li Guodong nodded.
As a result, their current positions will be officially revoked. To show our apologies, you may choose any supplies you need from the base's logistics warehouse.
He was trying to curry favor with me, but it was also a test. No need, my things are better than your warehouse. Right in front of him, I took several boxes of antibiotics and rations out of my space. These items are the most urgently needed supplies in the base right now. He finally realized that I am not just an individually powerful ability user, but also a mobile treasure trove. My value far exceeds his imagination. I need access to the base's internal network. I said to him. Li Guodong did not hesitate.
Very well. Mr. Chen Ming will be appointed as a special consultant to the base's information center.
The deal was struck. Chen Ming quickly set up his own workstation at the information center. That evening he told me, Zhang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao had privately embezzled a large amount of medicine and food while serving as leaders of the supply team. Can you find the location? I asked.
Yes, they kept a record on a USB drive. I recovered the deleted data.
The next day, a small-scale flu outbreak hit the base, and because of the medicine shortage, many people couldn't get treatment. Li Guodong was overwhelmed, so I took Lu Feng directly to find him. I know where the medicine is. Under Li Guodong's shocked gaze, I led the group to an abandoned air raid shelter in the base, pried open the lock, and found it piled high with various medicines and canned goods. Zhang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao, who were in the middle of taking inventory, were caught red-handed by us. Caught in the act. The color drained from Zhang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao's faces instantly.
No, that's not it. She framed me.
Lin Xiaoxiao pointed at me. Zhang Hao also chimed in with excuses, claiming that I was the one who put the items here to deliberately frame them. Li Guodong didn't care about the truth, he only cared about the result, and the result was that they had hoarded the base's most scarce medicine, and I was the one who found them.
Lock them up.
Li Guodong gave the order, and the soldiers dragged the two of them away. As they passed by me, Lin Xiaoxiao glared at me.
Su Qingyan, I won't let you off even as a ghost.
I looked at her. You won't have the chance to be a ghost. That afternoon, the base's highest alert was sounded. Chen Ming told me, it's here. The zombie horde has appeared 10 kilometers away, and the scale is even larger than what we observed before. I immediately climbed to the base's watchtower. On the distant horizon, a sea of death formed by countless zombies appeared, surging toward us at an alarming speed. Li Guodong stood beside me.
We have 3 lines of defense, but I'm not confident.
There are big ones among them.
Lu Feng pointed to the center of the zombie horde. Within the horde, there were several figures of abnormally large size. They were evolved ones.
Open fire.
Li Guodong gave the order. Artillery and machine gun fire rained on the horde. The first wave fell, but those behind surged forward, trampling their fallen companions. Suddenly, a dark shadow broke away from the zombie horde and charged directly toward our defensive line on the east side. It was on all fours, with its back covered in bone spurs. It was a speed-type evolved one. The machine gunner tried to lock onto it but couldn't keep up with its speed at all. In just an instant, it dashed through the wall of fire, its sharp claws slashing across the container defensive line and tearing open a huge gap. With the gap opened, the zombies outside poured in through the breach. The eastern defensive line collapsed instantly. Soldiers were forced into a steady retreat, and survivors screamed as they scattered in all directions. After tearing through the defensive line, the evolved creature lunged straight for the base's command center, killing every soldier in its path with a single swipe of its claws. Li Guodong immediately mobilized his personal guard via walkie-talkie. Lu Feng, Chen Ming, and I were right near the eastern defensive line.
I'll go take care of it.
A surge of icy cold energy erupted from Lu Feng as he prepared to strike. No need, I'll stop him. Your power needs to be saved for something more critical. Xiao Hei. The next second, a black shadow, even more massive than that evolved creature, appeared out of thin air beside me, a body over 3 meters tall with 3 hideous heads. Xiao Hei had appeared. Roar. Xiao Hei instantly locked onto the speed-type evolved creature, pushing off with its 4 hooves and causing the ground to crack. The speed-type evolved creature turned to face Xiao Hei, and the two monsters collided violently. The evolved creature was fast and had sharp claws, leaving wounds on Xiao Hei that were deep enough to expose bone. However, Xiao Hei completely ignored its own defense. Its middle head clamped down tightly on the evolved creature's neck, while one of its other heads sprayed corrosive acid, and the other spewed scorching flames, subjecting it to a double onslaught of ice and fire. That arrogant evolved creature was torn in half by Xiao Hei. The battle ended, and everyone looked at the blood-soaked Xiao Hei standing there, and at me beside it, with the same awe they would reserve for a god. I walked straight up to Lin Xiaoxiao, who was paralyzed on the ground in terror. In the chaos, she and Zhang Hao had escaped from the confinement room. Do you still think you're qualified to be my enemy now? Lin Xiaoxiao's pants were instantly soaked, and she fainted from terror, right then and there. I said to Li Guodong, leave the breach in the defense line to me. After saying that, I took Lu Feng and walked toward the massive gap where zombies were still pouring in. Just as I was about to have Lu Feng block the breach with an ice wall, Chen Ming's voice suddenly came through the communicator.
Boss, quickly, look over to the west. Wait, what on earth is that massive thing? I have absolutely no idea what we are looking at.
I immediately looked up and saw, at the very back of the zombie horde, a massive figure. It was at least 10 meters tall, covered in bone armor, and wielding a giant mace. It's a tyrant, a war machine that caused the downfall of countless large bases in my past life. To think it would appear so early in the apocalypse.
Focus fire on that big guy.
Li Guodong roared at the top of his lungs. Several shells whistled through the air toward the tyrant. Boom! 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 It remained standing there, completely unscathed. It raised its head and looked in our direction. Then it swung the mace in its hand. Boom! This base cannot be held.
Let's retreat, Miss Su.
Li Guodong's voice was filled with reluctance.
Take your people and go. You still have a chance.
Go. I looked at the tyrant in the distance, then back at the desperate faces behind me. In my past life, I was constantly fleeing like this, escaping from one overrun base to another. In this life, I don't want to run anymore. Lu Feng, I order you to take the east side and seal it off completely with an ice wall.
Yes.
Lu Feng acknowledged the order and left. Chen Ming, I said into the communicator, calculate all the weak points at the joints of its bone armor for me.
Understood.
Finally, I looked at Li Guodong. Organize everyone who can still move, hold the gap, and buy me 10 minutes. Li Guodong was stunned.
You, what are you going to do?
I looked at the tyrant in the distance and slowly raised my hand. In my palm, a drop of spiritual spring water slowly condensed. I want to show you what true power is. I split the spiritual spring water in two and flicked them away. One drop flew toward the badly wounded Xiao He, while the other went to Lu Feng, who looked pale after building a massive ice wall. As the water merged with Xiao He, its deep wounds healed rapidly, and its size surged once again. On the other side, Lu Feng's pale complexion instantly turned rosy, and the ice layer beneath his feet spread toward the entire eastern gap at an even faster speed. Roar! Xiao He let out a heaven-shaking roar and charged headlong into the zombie horde. It was no longer just biting. The middle head spewed corrosive acid, the left head breathed hellish flames, and the right head exhaled a massive wave of freezing cold air. Chen Ming, data, I said into the communicator.
The connection point of the third bone plate behind the left knee joint, that's its old wound.
Chen Ming's voice came through. Lu Feng, I ordered. Lu Feng slammed his hands onto the ground, and a massive ice spike shot up precisely from underground, striking the tyrant's weak point at its left knee with great force. Crack! The tyrant's massive body lost its balance and it dropped to one knee. Now, Xiao He. Xiao He leaped high into the air, its middle head clamping down hard on the tyrant's neck, while the other two heads spewed acid and flames furiously at its head. The tyrant's head was rapidly melted, and its massive body crashed to the ground. The tyrant was dead. The zombie horde instantly fell into chaos and began to scatter and flee. The crisis was averted. I stood on the watchtower, watching all of this coldly. Below were the survivors who had lived through the disaster. They looked up at me, their eyes shifting from initial shock to fanatical worship. Li Guodong stood beside me, looking at me with eyes full of complex emotions, awe, gratitude, and a hint of deep apprehension. He knew that the victory in this battle did not belong to the base, but to me alone. From this moment on, the balance of power in this base had completely shifted. The battle was over, and the base was left in ruins. I didn't rest. I immediately directed Lu Feng and some of the soldiers to clear the battlefield. At the same time, I took a large amount of medicine and clean drinking water from my storage space and had Chen Ming distribute them to the medical team. My actions won the support of all the survivors in the base. That evening, Li Guodong came to my residence in person.
Miss Su,
He handed me a document.
from today on, you will be the supreme commander of the base. Both I and all my men will follow your orders.
This is a transfer of power agreement. I don't need it. I refused. Li Guodong was stunned. I have no interest in managing ordinary survivors. I said I would only form a special operations team to handle the highest level crises. The daily operations of the base will still be your responsibility, but all decisions must be approved by me. I don't want empty titles. I want absolute control. Li Guodong nodded in agreement immediately. I looked at him and said, then, as the one in control of the base, I need to deal with a group of criminals. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in the square, we will hold a public trial for all criminals who took advantage of the chaos during the crisis to harm others' lives, Li Guodong said immediately.
Good.
The next day, the square was packed with people. The first group to be dragged onto the trial platform were Zhang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao. They had escaped during the chaos, but were caught again by the soldiers. At this moment, they were trembling all over. I stood on the high platform, looking down at them. I picked up the microphone and said, the trial begins now. Do you have any last words? Zhang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao knelt on the ground, weeping bitterly, blaming each other for the fault, and desperately kowtowing to me to beg for mercy. The survivors below looked at them with disgust and contempt. I took out a list. Zhang Hao, Lin Xiaoxiao, you hoarded medicine during the zombie horde, causing 37 people to die because they couldn't get treatment, and you pushed 3 survivors toward the zombies to create chaos in order to save your own lives. The evidence is conclusive. Do you admit it? The two of them collapsed on the ground, while everyone below was shouting, kill them! I raised my hand to signal for silence. I walked up to them, looking at these two faces I had hated for 2 lifetimes. Death is too easy for you. I turned around and announced my verdict to everyone. I will not kill them. From today on, they will be stripped of their status as base survivors and expelled from the base. Whether they live or die, I will leave it to this apocalypse to decide. No, Su Qingyan, you can't do this to me, Lin Xiaoxiao screamed frantically. The soldiers dragged them toward the base gate. I followed them. Just before they were pushed out, I leaned into Lin Xiaoxiao's ear and said, oh, I forgot to tell you, your cousin Lin Hui, the thug, was someone I personally broke the legs of and threw into the horde of zombies at the department store. The vengeance from my past life has been avenged. My mind felt completely clear. Just as I was preparing to return to the command center, Chen Ming's voice suddenly rang out over the communicator.
Boss, we have a situation. A large convoy is approaching the base. They've sent a communication request. The call sign is Thor.
The Thor convoy arrived at the base entrance. A dozen heavy trucks and armored vehicles, all well equipped. Leading them was a tall man with an arrogant look in his eyes. He was wearing a custom tactical suit with faint electric arcs crackling around his arms. A lightning-type ability user. He identified himself as Zhao Tianlei, the leader of this convoy. Li Guodong negotiated, while I had Chen Ming check the convoy's background. Zhao Tianlei aggressively demanded entry. Li Guodong looked at me, conflicted. I told him via communicator, let them in. The convoy slowly entered the base. When Zhao Tianlei saw me, a flash of contempt crossed his eyes. In his view, I was just a woman who got lucky and had a few powerful subordinates. At the impromptu meeting, he got straight to the point.
I've heard that this place has just gone through a major battle. Why don't you all merge into my Thunder Whip unit, and I will take unified command. I guarantee that everyone will have a bright future.
He wants to annex us. Li Guodong's expression changed, and just as he was about to retort, I raised my hand to stop him. I looked at Zhao Tianlei and smiled. Unified command, sure. But in the apocalypse, whoever has the bigger fist makes the rules. Why don't we have a contest?
A hint of smugness flashed in Zhao Tianlei's eyes. Miss Su is straightforward. How do you want to compete?
It's simple. I stood up. You fight me.